Hey guys, it's Rory here at Oliver Bernard again. Thanks for joining today's Golang in London. I'm here with Jack Liddiard, who is another self-taught Go developer, completely self-taught developer actually. So should be interesting to hear his thoughts and his journey. So hi Jack, how's it going?
Good, thanks, Rory. Yeah, enjoying the weather. Can't complain.
Yeah, it's not too bad at the moment, is it? So thanks for joining me today. So if you could give a quick sort of introduction to yourself and your background first of all, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. So my name's Jack. I'm a software developer. Um, Been in the industry now for about 8 or so years, so still relatively new. um, at the moment, I work for a company called Smart Numbers. We use Golang for our call switching and fraud detection. And yeah, that's about it really. We took the journey from going from a Java process very much to through a couple of different languages and ended up on Golang. It suited a lot of the needs we required. And yeah, very pleased so far.
Okay, cool. And so did you build out that new system from scratch using Go, or did you have a sort of monolith transition or a legacy transition even over to it from Java?
So what we had is when I joined Smart Numbers, possibly about 2.5 years ago, it was very much on-prem hosted solutions. So one of the visions was to move more towards a cloud infrastructure. Alongside that was moving to a serverless architecture using Amazon Web Services Lambdas. So our first transition, since a lot of us knew Java at that point in time, was to transition into the cloud with Java. And we started hitting some of the performance penalties with using the JVM up in Amazon's Lambda architecture. And what we then did was started looking at other languages and settled on Golang after quite a long time of trying to find the right language that met our needs. So at this point in time, we're about maybe a year and a half into the product's life cycle. So we've got a fair amount of it written in Java at this point in time. And then we just picked off each microservice bit by bit and transitioned it to Golang. We started with a very small one. We had no idea what we were doing. We just completely bit the bullet on it, did as much spiking as you were around it, but there's nothing really until you actually start doing it. We picked the smallest bit. I even think it was a new service, and to give a bit of context around it, you gave it a phone number and it told you the operator of that. So it was a pretty simple service. And from there, we wrote it and we looked back on it possibly, let's say 2 or 3 months later, and actually realized that we made a fair few mistakes. So then we rectified those mistakes, just moving forward as we learned more and more, learned about the Go community a lot more. So we've been probably on Go, or strictly Go developers, for probably about maybe 8 to 10 months now. And we've definitely sort of come leaps and bounds ahead of where we were.
Okay, cool. And I mean, if I could take you back quickly, actually, towards the start of your career, I think in your own words, you said that you winged it, certainly for your first role back in the day. I mean, I know you weren't working with Go at the time, but how did you find the sort of interview process and first few months of sort of working in development from not having any background in it at all before?
Yeah, that one was tough. I'll be perfectly honest with you. So just to give some background there, so I had absolutely no formal education in programming. I learned it all myself from a fairly young age. And one of the things that the interviewers picked up on is that they said that I clearly had a passion for it. And that would probably be one of the biggest selling points, is that I had some stuff. So at the time I was doing my A-level computing, and I wrote a program for that. And that's what got submitted as part of the course work. And I showed them that, and in their words, they were impressed by that. So that would be one of the biggest selling points I'd say that helped me, was I had something that I had done to back up what I was saying. I wasn't just saying I could program, I put something in front of them. And I wasn't embarrassed by it. I was very pleased with what I had done. I look back on it now and go, oh my God, is that what I wrote? But at that exact point in time, I was very passionate, very pleased with what I'd done. And then when I got into the job, it was actually through a software testing role. They were hiring for a software tester, and I was going to take it as part of a gap year. But ended up actually sort of partway through the interview, they said, do I really want to be a tester? And I said no. So they pulled me back for a software engineering interview a couple of days later. And from there, really, I joined the company. I joined in at the moment at part-time because I was still at sixth form at that point in time. So I joined them part-time and just learned about programming, really, how to do it professionally. So at this point in time, I had pretty much hacked together whatever I could and sort of called it a program. And there I got given the more formal education of what a test is, how to actually write code properly, using frameworks, using dependency management, stuff that you would expect to see as pretty standard in developing professionally, but stuff you don't really think of when you are trying to teach yourself and don't really find on the internet that too easily if you're 12. So that's sort of how I got into it, how I sort of went around it. The interview process, for me, I was lucky. I dodged the bullet on that one when it came to any algorithms or any questions like that. I have a feeling that would have possibly tripped me up a little bit. But I believe if they're interviewing someone, and I was pretty upfront about it, that I was self-taught and that I had no formal education, that realistically would you be able to expect such a high degree of algorithmic knowledge from someone who spent their weekends just learning it. And then, so I just pushed forward on that, just kept learning as much as I can. I spent about 3.5 years at my first company, sort of reached the ceiling there, and then took the plunge and moved jobs to London. And that's it really.
That makes sense. And would you say that sort of passion for coding and development is still there? And is that maybe one of the reasons what drew you to working with new languages later on in your career?
Oh, 100%. When I took the movement from my first company to the first London-based company I worked for, it was sort of a step up and a breath of fresh air, because I was very much stuck at that point in time with Java 8 and sort of JSPs. And I was really looking for the next best thing. At this point, Angular was gaining a lot of traction. React was popping its head up. And other languages as well were starting to fluff around or give some rattles in the water. And from there, I really wanted to work with it, but I was getting limited very much by the company I was working at. So when I moved to London, they gave me the opportunity to really see that actually you don't have to be a professional in a single language. You can really be very much of, I believe the word now is a polyglot engineer.
Yeah.
So you know a lot of the languages, or you just know enough about most languages to get the job done and do the best tools possible. But that really is driven from the absolute passion to try and get the best possible thing out the door using the best possible tools and using almost the latest and greatest technologies.
Okay, makes sense. Well, thanks for your time, Jack. Really interesting, and also good to hear people from a background such as yourself that is a bit less traditional, if I can say, but certainly a path worth going down. So yeah, thanks very much for your time. All the best.
Thanks, Rory.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.